This was an article that came to me through a birdie, and I legitimately read it, and I was like, I thought it was a satire thing.
Yeah.
I kept looking through other sites. I ended up finding like
you're just like, this is so crazy. You're like, this must be fake.
New York Times tech staff's gonna basically they've been trying to go on strike for a while, right?
Yeah.
And it's the tech staff. It's not their normal staff, and they're kind of holding it over them, being like, hey, it's the election, so now we have the hand.
Yeah. Well, they're
just like
they're basically saying they're like, yeah, we're like not needed in any of this. Like, people can get their news anywhere. So like, people just go on Twitter. Like, you guys are so replaceable.
But the elections, when they fucking real pop off, you know what I mean? Or when the New York Times is trying to get a war cooking, they pop into overdrive when they're trying to get a war cooking.
There's a lot of these things going on, and I'm wondering how it's affecting them. But
the Times journalist walked off the job for a day in 2022, and Wirecutter staff staged a 5-day strike during the Black Friday shopping season of 2021. So they've been sort of pushing this for a while, but the Guild released all their tech demands, the tech staff's demands, and they're insane. But the thing is, when you first read this, you go, okay, New York Times journalists, you're like, I'm expecting some wacky demands from them. You know what I mean? Just like, no one looks me in the eyes. Like, you know, a crying room, all that sort of stuff, right?
All the stuff.
But when I think of the tech guys, I think you're talking nerds. You know, I'm thinking the tech guys that are sort of like, you know, working on the website and stuff like that. The IT guys. I'm not picturing.
But they're reporters still. Some of these are like journalists.
So you're saying some of these tech guys moonlight as journalists?
I guess. I don't know. I was under the impression that they were like also journalists.
This is what was a little confusing to me, because when I was picturing tech guys, but it ain't tech guys. This is standard meat and potatoes, New York Times.
Just lying journalists.
This is exactly what you'd expect. They start off not as crazy.
Yeah.
The Guild's put forward a number of proposals that management balked at in totalitarity. Okay. Get me on that one.
Totalitarity?
They've been, you didn't get it that good either. And by the way.
Well, I said what you said.
Oh, I thought, all right.
Totality.
I didn't nail it either. Well, at first, they've been going back and forth for like a couple years. And apparently, the Tech Guild's been like, they're being unreasonable, and they're like, they're being unreasonable. And they started out with they want a 4-day work week coupled with significant increases in pay. So they're coming in fairly
less
hot,
work, more money.
Great. They're
ballsy. Usually you go less work, same money.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're hoping to get. They're going, we're asking for less work, more money, and we'll be happy with less work.
Exactly.
And same money or same work, more money.
I want a raise. And you go, and here's also a thing is I want to work 1 day a week. But the thing is, they come in, when they started out, they're not zany. Like you go, I'm not dealing with a crazy person. I'm dealing with a lazy person.
Sure.
So they go, we want to work 4 days a week, even in election season, but we want more money in result of that. Non-performance based annual bonuses. So we want
non-performance based. They think they're like a fucking athlete or some shit. I mean, no, actually, that's
not
a lie.
a bonus.
Athletes are actually all performance based.
Well, why is it a bonus then? You're just asking, like, that's just a higher salary.
I go, you want it to just not be tied to anything. You go, hey, come into my office, and just here's like a bag of money. You go, what is this for? You go, nothing.
Just being you.
Just nothing. We're hemorrhaging money, but nothing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I guess on the other side of this, the New York Times is probably not in its peak right now.
Yeah, well, it's also insane because, you know, Twitter laid off, 2/3 of their workforce. It only got better. Like, they also, all of a sudden, they start like innovating all these new features, all this stuff when nothing had happened. They're fine. Right. You're like, just let them go.
I would like to think the New York Times could probably cut half their staff and no one would notice.
Easily. I'd like to try and sneak into the building. I mean, it's like right here.
Really?
You didn't know that? It's across the street.
That's pretty funny.
Dude, it's literally across the street.
If they strike, we should pop over there.
Dude, it's literally right across the street. You walk out, and it's right across the street.
I want to work 0 days a week, and I want a million kajillion.
Because I walk by there all the time, and I'm like, man, what goes on in here?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know what's going on in there.
Malarkey.
Now, well, yes, a lot of crying.
Well, you know what it is? They are probably like the tech people. These are the tech people, and then they were like, do you know what goes on at tech companies? They have fucking unlimited
Right, we should
cereal,
have a slide, yeah.
slides, like I remember I went to the Shopify offices in Ottawa one year because my friend's girlfriend worked there. They had a go-kart track inside.
I mean, some of that stuff, it was all when things were, it's like with that old thing where when things are growing a lot, it's, it's all, everyone's generous. And then when, the thing stops growing as much, it's always kind of like, all right, we need to, start dividing this pie. And then you start fighting over who gets what.
Tighten the belt.
Yeah, when it seems like there's more money coming in the future, everyone's kind of happy. When it seems like things are clamping down a bit, everyone's kind of like scrambling to get their little piece.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a business that has a worse outlook than journalism.
Doesn't seem like it's doing as hot as...
if you were at to bet on any company right now, it wouldn't be the fucking New York Times.
Well, I think a lot of what the tech of the New York Times does is they have to develop pipelines to encrypt the messages from the deep state.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. They got to keep all their handlers happy.
Exactly. I think it's a lot. It's sort of like a sales position. There's a lot of like taking the deep state guys out to games, stuff like that. You're essentially in sales.
You know what? Just as because this is shocking to me, but I just looked at the New York Times company stock, and it just made an all-time high like today.
Okay, so maybe that's why these guys.
So they're making money somewhere.
Well, I wonder what they're doing. It's just
they have a lot of online subscriptions.
They just probably have a crazy amount of subscriptions.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they're doing okay.
Yeah.
So management, that's where we started. They said management's getting bogged down with the negotiations, which they seem as somewhat outlandish, even illegal proposals. The guild has proposed a ban on scented products in the break room. I don't know what that could be. I think
curry. Yeah.
Well, why would they?
None of these non-white foods stinking up the break room.
Or it's the opposite of that, where these guys, some of the other people that work there keep lighting candles and stuff like that because they're just like, people are stinking this up with weird foods and shit like that.
Right. That's what it is. The passive-aggressive whites who are like kind of like a week from retirement. They go, you know what? This place used to smell like fucking ham sandwiches, which smelled nice and like nothing. And now it's all these exotic foods everywhere.
And there's no chance. There's no chance any white's just ever gonna say like, hey, do you mind like if you're gonna have you're gonna bring like crazy smelling food?
Can you just eat plain rice?
So I think you got a lot of hippies in there burning incense and stuff like that, being like, no, it's unrelated. Your food smells great. And they're just like, no, none of this incense business. No. The food smells the food smell.
Yeah, we smell the foods.
Unlimited break time.
Unlimited break time.
Unlimited. I guess a lot of places they have like unlimited paid time off. Like a lot of places will give you a limited paid time off, but what they really mean is like if you take more than 3 weeks, you're fired. You know what I mean?
Sure. Obviously, I mean, unless you're somehow unless it's a straight production based company, and you go, hey, well, you're doing all your stuff, but
as long as you get your stuff,
you go, hey, whatever. Like you just show up, you go, hey, I got to go grab something, I got to go run an errand, you just come back at 5 o'clock, and you go, all right, see you guys.
I guess in this situation, they want someone to come and be like, hey, I need you something to do, and you go, I'm on break. You go, how long are you on break till? However the fuck I want. How long the fuck I want.
Gonna go catch a day matinee baseball game.
Yeah. However the fuck I want to. How about that? I'm gonna ride the ferry just for fun.
Wild.
So the unlimited break team, which seems a little high to be like, I want more wanting less days, unlimited break time, no smells, as well as mandatory trigger warnings in company meetings discussing events from the news. So this is where it starts to get a little
crazy
fucking
because like
wacky.
You're the news, and they got to be like, all right, everybody, cover your ears. We're gonna discuss the news at the news. I hope this doesn't.
You're fucking. Imagine working at the news,
dude. We got to sneak in there. We got to get some janitor.
I know, right? Janitor outfits, sneak in there and just be. They're like, okay, we're gonna be talking about Ukraine today.
That was actually kind of insensitive to Arab people, so don't do that.
Yeah. So definitely being a tech guy, if you're like, hey, you're coming in and someone needs their computer fixed, and you come in and you're like, guys, if you don't mind, we have someone here, and they're like, sorry, the former president, trigger warning, the former president, like trigger warnings at the news is something else.
Crazy.
Seems like they might not be getting all this stuff, so there's maybe a little part of it where they're pouring it on thick, hoping to meet in the middle.
I'll tell you how you know chicks are running the show, though.
I forgot to even mention that.
Is pet bereavement. That's how you know.
Pet bereavement? Yeah.
Unlimited pet bereavement.
Unlimited pet bereavement. Wow, that's an easy one because you got 45 cats.
Yeah, you go, my parakeet died.
My pet ant died today, so yeah, it's gonna be.
So,
what do you expect me to do?
You know how many ants I have?
His name's Morton. I'm supposed to come in. Fucking Morton's dead.
Morton's a Morton.
I'm supposed to just leave his 95 other brothers and sisters in peace. Yeah. Times Management's been frustrated with some other proposals. So Times Management, the head honchos at Times are just like, really.
They probably wish their fucking stock was in the gutter right now, actually.
Because then they could be
like, hey,
he wants to come out there with like his pockets out, just being like, I would love to give you your unlimited time. But he goes, but this is probably where it got real good. More money for non-white staff and other underrepresented communities to attend conferences, language that would prioritize non-citizens in the U.S. on visas in the case of layoffs. So this is where I was thinking there's got to be a couple white dudes in this thing they were doing the meeting. They're like, okay, you're doing your pet bereavement, all this.
Sure.
Guys, hey, I got to dip out. You guys, do you mind like just finishing this off? You're not going to do anything crazy. And it's like, no, we have a couple extra points.
Yeah. I think you're ready for it. I think you're ready for the added responsibility.
He comes back the next day. They're just like, hey, did you add in the thing that all white people are going to get paid less money?
It's illegal, first off.
Basically, what they're saying, if anyone gets laid off, it has to be everyone else before the illegal immigrants or people that don't have
That's a tough one,
cards.
too, because they're just like, they're saying that. They go, that's technically illegal. And they go, no person is illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
They go, yeah, but you can't pay people differently expressly based on the race.
Buddy, they must have had like 5 or 6 white dudes in this meeting. Or white people in this meeting, probably more dudes that were just like, great, the bereavement. And they're just like, okay, obviously we're going to be doing more money for anyone who's not white. And the guy's like, love that.
I think the white guys
Another
in the New York
good
Times
idea?
don't really pipe up anymore.
You think that
they're just trying to not get fired and keep the pension.
Guy has to put his hostage tape on before he gets into the meeting?
They don't do anything. Like, those guys are just fucking head down.
They're hanging on cliffhanger style on a thread, just being like, if I can make it another year, maybe I get some sort of pension.
Yeah, they just they see the light at the end of this.
I think some of these New York Times white dudes are desperately starting podcasts, being hoping to take off so they could walk away.
Like, where? Well, the problem is like you probably can't even start one because then you probably say something and fire you for it.
Yeah, and both of which paper pointed out they couldn't be fulfilled because that would likely violate employment laws. So it is funny, the paper, they're just straight up coming with like most illegal shit.
Well, and you know what? From a negotiating standpoint, to give them maybe the benefit of the doubt here.
They're going hard.
They go, we're going to throw all these crazy things. They're going to give us none of the crazy things, and they're just going to give us more money and less work. And
so you're not going to give the white people less money. However, you are going to get your
You'll
days
give
off.
Everybody more money and less work, and then I guess everybody wins. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's then they go, fuck, that's a kind of a negotiating
I couldn't believe when I was seeing some of these demands, though. It was like out of a friggin' sketch.
Lying New York Times, baby.
the wacky New York Times, man. They're getting wackier and wackier, and every time you take a look at them, they're exactly as wacky as you'd think they'd be.
Yeah.
And they actually exceed your wackiness expectations, because I was not sure this was real.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Trump wins, they're kind of just back to print.
They could be printing more money if Trump gets off, because these guys are, you know what I mean?
If he wins, man, they're just like, all right, we're back, baby.